Hi, this is Joe of Podcast, the podcast you've somehow chosen to listen to. We here at the Podcast care a lot about audio quality. And this week, we trialed a brand new high quality audio method. This method involved having all of the audio of the podcast picked up by my microphone, rather than recording my audio and then also separately recording other people's audio. I thought this was just an exceptional way to get some real crisp audio. It definitely in no way had anything to do with the fact I had to reinstall my audio drivers before the podcast started and didn't check my OBS settings were okay. And that was not also caused by the fact that I was exceptionally tired and ill. No, that is not the reason. You might listen to the podcast and think, wow, you sounds incredibly ill and tired. And you'd be right. You'd be right. But that is in no way the reason for this week. It is 100% a trial of a new audio method, and we'll see. We'll wait for some feedback. Maybe Richie will have some more feedback. You'll have to listen to the podcast to actually get that reference. So come back, I guess, to really appreciate that little hilarious reference I just made there. And yeah, let's just get on with the podcast. Fuck me.
I was searching up the echo chamber and I found my original Golbears deck. That's cute. I'm gonna save that photo. Hang on, I'm posting it. This was over the quality matter.
Oh, is this our deck tech?
Yeah, man.
Is this a deck we're going to judge harshly today?
Oh shit.
Alright. Thanks, Zellon. What's up, Internet? It's time for the podcast. Let's go. What's coming up next time on the podcast? First, we have a feature match. Eureka and myself. We are taking on each other in a surprise format. It's Worlds with a twist. What's the twist? We're going to give each other the decks that we're playing. So the real twist. And I'm going to give 49 cards in each of Eureka's decks, so he instantly loses. Genius. Next up, as some of you may know, in Japan, their meta is somewhat different to ours. This is not to do with different mindsets. This is completely due to the fact they have hundreds of cards we don't, because of that chapters that came out. And we, here at the podcast, are going to start a change.org petition to bring those cards worldwide, so we all have access to it, and it's not unfair. And finally, we're going to welcome 14 co-hosts to the podcast, and then also bring in 23 guests every episode. It's going to be great. The first segment is going to be a serious segment, because we have some feedback. From a man calling himself Richie, which as many of you know in Australia is a synonym for anonymous. Richie says, and I quote, he could not listen to the podcast more than 5 minutes because of all of the weird silence. For those long-time listeners, you'll know we have that silence for the sign language interpreter, because we here at the podcast are all-inclusive. And we just want to say to Richie, fuck you, you deafest asshole. Does anyone else have any other thoughts on that?
I mean, come on, Richie, it's 2019. Get with the times, mate.
Alright. Moving on now, we have Podcat Talk. This week, we're going to discuss an absolutely hot button issue that is just tearing up the community and is 100% still relevant at this moment in time and still being discussed 100% definitely for real. And that is the Crystal Cup format. For those unaware listening to this podcast, what the fuck are you doing with your life? But I will now explain. On day one, you're going to have standard Swiss. And then it's going to cut to top 32 going into day two. You're going to start with 4 rounds of Swiss on day two, 6-pack draft. That's standard Final Fantasy TCG rules, not draft rules, like being able to play backups for CP. And then finally, they're going to take your scores from Swiss. They're going to take your scores from draft. They're going to put them together. And then they're going to make a top 8. And then the top 8 is going to go back to normal format. and then they'll crown a winner with a normal standard deck. Discuss.
So my biggest problem with it is, I mean, I would like to think I've got a decent chance at getting day 2 on the English one at least. The main issue with it is I don't have a very strong immune system, so with the random draft on day 2, I'm really likely to get a flu from that extra cold coming in. I think they really need to keep the doors shut during those first 4 rounds on day 2, just to keep the room temperature up.
Anyone else?
Okay, are we gonna
if we
real draft?
Yeah, if we want like the real thing, like my first input is honestly just I don't know why they decided to do it for literally every single one. It's a bit of a weird choice, just coming from the idea that like if people didn't like it, at least that'd be the excuse of like, oh, we'll just go to the other ones.
It's not confirmed for the American ones, though, I think, is it? It's just the European ones so far. There was a post by RB the other day, I think, that said that nothing's been announced for the American.
First RB did said all Crystal Cups, and then they said back.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like a backpedal a couple of days ago on it.
So actually at Meiji Sen in Japan today, which just ended a few hours ago, it was announced that there would be a Japan Cup, and that has, the day 2 of that is 3 rounds of best of 3 draft. So that's going to make its way into Japan Cup, and then Crystal Cups, which used to be called Grand Championships, have been announced too, and that is suspected to follow the same Crystal Cup format as the rest of the world. So there'll be competitive drafts in Japan, that's it.
Do we think it's gonna like come over to places like Australia and stuff too? Because it sounds like that's the way they're kind of going with it.
It seems like anything that's going to be called Crystal Cup or something Cup has possibilities for draft.
2 girls, 1 cup.
Yeah, that's probably draft too.
Australia has waited super long to announce their OP stuff. It feels like they may be like they had it because Tim's was like, oh, soon, and then all this draft controversy came and like, oh, we might be changing stuff, and then they haven't announced anything since. So I feel like they're just waiting.
Yeah, they might be playing it a bit safe just because the Australian community isn't as big as everywhere else so far.
Yeah, but we also will probably just take whatever they give us, right? It's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, that's very true.
But like, if they want draft to be part of like every single cup, this isn't a terrible way to do it. I don't think. Like starting with draft, I would hate more than like going to draft as the first cut.
Yeah, I think if they're setting it in stone that that's how it is, it'll probably be pretty fine. It's just like it's pretty sudden on a lot of people.
Yeah, but if they want like draft skill to be a part of Worlds, I don't see much of a better way to do it.
I think for a lot of people, the main issue is the way that they get fed into Nats and or bigger tournaments before Worlds being gated by drafting ability doesn't feel appropriate to them. Like, drafting isn't a part of most nationals. Like, most nationals in the foreseeable future is going to be like a 100% constructed thing, and so because of that, they don't feel like entry to that should be gated by one's drafting ability.
But like, winner of Crystal Cup goes Worlds too, right? Like straight. Like,
I think going forward, that's true. I know that's true for the Japan Crystal Cup set, but
I'm pretty sure that's true for the European.
It is. Are you addicted to cardboard crack? Looking for a way to stop? Try Cartix today. Available at all good back alley card stores. Some people have had changes in behaviour, hostility, agitation, depressed mood, suicidal thoughts, or actions while taking or stopping card. If you noticed agitation, hostility, depression, or changes in behaviour, thinking, or mood that are not typical for you, or if you've developed suicidal thoughts or actions, stop taking Cartix and call your local game store right away. Talk to your local game store about a history of depression or other history of mental health problems which can get worse when taking Cartix. Some people can have an allergic reaction or serious skin reactions to Cartix, some of which can be serious or life-threatening. If you notice a swell on the face, mouth, throat, or a rash, stop taking Cartix and see your local game store right away. Tell your local game store which medications you're taking, as they may work differently while you try and quit cardboard crack. Cartix dosing may be different if you have kidney problems. The most common side effect is nausea. Card gamers have also reported sleeping, vivid, unusual, or strange dreams. Until you know how Cartix may affect you, use caution when driving or operating machinery. Cartix should not be taken with other cardboard crack products. If you are pregnant or plan to become pregante, talk to your local game store before starting Cartix. Alright, time for the spoilers of the month. The first spoiler is going to be coming at you by Yusufa.
So the first spoiler we got is Cloud from Opus 8, surprisingly, because that's the only set that's not been released yet. He's a 3 CP Earth forward from Category 7. His job, as written on the card, is Soldier! It's in all capitals, so that's how you've got to say it. Otherwise, you're actually not keeping a clear board state, and a judge can be called on you, so do bear that in mind. Power is 7,000, which is pretty, well, it's on curve. So, when Cloud enters the field, choose one forward. If you control 4 or more Category 7 forwards, break it. And then when a Category 7 forward you control blocks, it gains 1,000 power until the end of the turn. So that's our guy. Fucking good.
Actually, given the new spoiler that we saw today, the Tifa, I actually think that this card is less good.
No!
It's weird that they're in the same set, deck, right? Like the same.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to play this Cloud and then play the Tifa. You want to play the Tifa and then the Cloud, just because of
the Cloud's chump blocking with Jesse. 2 CP forwards to chump block. This guy can block an 8k potentially. It's pretty good.
It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. But like, I feel like he's definitely worse because of the kind of board we want to play. And then you want to compile that with the fact that we're playing in Earth, and so like, you're never gonna want to chance out of your own board if you're gonna build 4 to 5 block, right?
Yes.
I don't know. This makes a lot less sense given the more and more we see for the 7 synergy stuff, the less it makes sense.
I mean, I would personally be going, like, if you've got Jesse down, you play Barrett for 1, and you play Opus 4, Cloud for 2, then Tifa for 3, Cloud, build another forward, and then get this guy down. It's quite a lot of value, quite cheap.
My biggest problem with that is that this Cloud does not have an S ability, which makes you want to play Light Cloud, Opus 4 Cloud, not Opus 1, Opus 4 Cloud a lot less. Because I won't be able to discard the Opus 4 Light Cloud for CP, and then I won't be able to ditch it on this either. So I basically have to send this Cloud in to die. It's just like it's not a big deal, especially if these are the only Clouds we end up playing in the deck. But it doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I think with the Tifa coming out, like I really like the look of the Tifa, and I'm never gonna play this Cloud with that Tifa.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all, that defense. I just feel like we're going to end up hitting Opus 4 Cloud or the Fire Cloud if we're playing this Cloud. If you're not going into Fire, then maybe we're not playing that at all. Maybe we're playing Light Cloud. Maybe we end up playing this just for body, but...
Alright. And the next spoiler is coming to you from 10.
Well, this one's pretty exciting. It's coming in Opus 8 through the Fire and Metas, which releases on the 22nd of March. Its card name is Bahamut. It's probably a card we haven't seen before, but it's a 4 CP wind summon, and its category is special. You can only pay with CP produced by backups to cast Bahamut. Choose one forward, deal it 10,000 damage. If it is put from the field into the break zone this turn, remove it from the game instead.
What's your thoughts on this 10?
Well, we also got spoiled another in the set of wind summons for Opus 8. And that was Raiden, which is Raiden, right?
Yeah. Raiden is like strictly better than this card now.
Yeah, well, so
at least Raiden can kill your Stola.
Yeah, that's a perk, but I can't really see us playing these whole set of summons outside Wind because what actually activates?
But the Wind one's great because it'll be like.
Wind's gonna be like break a forward of cost 5 or higher. Then it's just gonna be worse than Diablo.
Yeah.
it's gonna be an Alexander break 5 or higher. Let's be real here.
Yeah. I didn't think this card was super bad when it was spoiled, but it doesn't let us deal with Yashola. And given the other fire stuff that we've seen so far, we still need to attack over 8k and be able to clear Yashola to clear whatever the 8k or higher is. And this doesn't really do either of this. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I would like to, I kind of think that it might be something to put away for later, though, just if RFG becomes more of a relevant thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, just because, in a certain situation, I could see removed from the game being really helpful, but in the current meta, I'd really prefer Raiden, yeah.
But I'd probably just still play the other Bahamut of this, right? The 4-drop AK one?
Most of the time. If you're playing... Setsuna, then you're gonna want the other Bahamut for sure. If you only play 3 summons and then these are your 3 summons, then I can see it maybe someday. Because a lot of the time, the things that you need to RFG are going to be 9 to 10k right now, like Galdi's boosted by either Maria or Kujaspo or whatever, or any kind of passive is going to need a 9k threshold. So Setsuna will hit that with the other Bahamut, but without Setsuna. And with a lower summon count, this might be the only way to go about it. That being said,
Cessna, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're playing Setsuna, then you might as well play that Bahamut, because 9K and 10K don't really have any breakpoints in the current meta for things that need to, in my opinion.
I don't know. It's more disappointing that this is the summons we're getting, right? Like, hopefully we're getting 2 per color, but we're probably getting 1 per color, and they're probably all this.
Yeah.
That's really disappointing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, I think my favorite summons in the game are the modal ones so far. Like, your Diablos, your Rammer.
Yeah.
Like, they're the most fun summons, and just,
They're
like,
also
the Swiss
really
Army
fucking good compared to the other summons in the
Well,
game.
yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know, it's sort of like the summon game I do want to see moving forward, but we're sort of getting these really linear ones that are just, they're a bit wonky, and I don't know, it feels like you might as well just run, like, a lot of forwards or backups or anything that do a very similar job.
And we just get so few summons per set compared to every other card type, because Chapters was, like, flooded with good summons, and they don't want the game to be about summons again.
No, I think that's kind of evident, and I think they're stepping back away from that, because I think cards like Diablos, they weren't expecting to be as powerful as they are, and that's why we're getting not very good summons.
Yeah. They're
I think they expected Diablos to be as good as it is. I do not think it is coincidental that Edward and Celeste came out before Diablo, or at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Opus 5 as a whole, the general power level has shifted up quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still pulling Opus 5. That set's nuts.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was probably the most creative set up until this point as well.
Yeah, it definitely affected the meta the most of, like, one set. I think, like, Opus 1.
For sure, yeah. For sure. Like, after that, the most impactful card in the game was Layla.
Yeah.
Opus 6, good set.
I can't believe I didn't think Layla was going to be anything when I first saw it.
I don't think anybody thought Layla was going to be quite as good as she is when Opus 6 launched. I don't think anybody foresaw, like, 3 Merwib, 3 Brawn, Layla spam the deck being as good as it is.
Well, it was just like the actual power on them didn't seem that overwhelming. It was sort of like, oh yeah, you draw some cards and that's fine, but like they'll do nothing. And then like Fusoya came back and just started bodying things, and it was spooky.
I do appreciate that they've brought out cards that can handle it a lot better than what was available before the set.
No, Layla.
I still think that nothing really handles it as well as it should. It just feels like there's no downside playing Layla most of the time.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. It's still really strong, but it's been mitigated a lot with cards. Well, mostly the Crystal Chronicles package, right?
Yeah, it's really good.
Crystal Chronicles is great. I've been running Scholar, I think it is, the lightning backup you crack to deal.
Right. Yeah, it's 3 to 2 active points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was using a Terror against the Layla Viking when it was pretty prevalent in the UK from Opus 1.
Yeah. They need to be dulled, though, so you need to take 2 or find a way to put them down. Like, it just doesn't feel good, right? So, yeah, the only thing that feels like really good against Layla is like Rigby. Where are we getting with that? Yeah. Or Black Waltz Spear or whatever. You can pop the Viking and put a 6k down like a shit at 9k.
So everyone, just start playing Lightning. It's cool.
Yeah, Cyclops is pretty good at dealing with those, isn't it? Cyclops pops them.
On EX, sure.
Yeah, you still gotta pay 3 at a summon.
On EX is sick.
Yeah, on EX.
Alright, this is coming in, the Trail Deck Plus, Cardcaptor's Clear Card, which releases the 22nd of February, so only about just under 2 weeks from when this podcast is recording, not to give that away. It is called Tomoyo Ain't No Dream. It is a level 0, cost 0. Its traits are Tomoeda and Video Camera. It's 1000 power. It's got the flavor text of Tomoya saying, whatever this is, it's no dream. It's got a continuous assist ability. All of your characters in front get 500 power. And an act. Rest this card, choose one of your characters, and that character gets plus 500 power until the end of turn. Pretty interesting that they're bringing in mechanics in which you have to put forwards behind other forwards. But the power's just too low, in my opinion. Anybody else want to chime in on this spoiler?
My main concern with this card is with it being a clear card, you're going to be able to see it in your deck, so technically you can get done for card marking, because this card, judging by its text, is completely translucent.
That's what sleeves are for.
Hey man, if upside down captures aren't tournament legal, cards that are see-through shouldn't be.
I mean, they are legal until top 8. Alright, and the final spoiler that we're going to read today is brought to you by Zellon.
So we got Lise. So she's the 3CP fire forward. Category 14. Jobs, Scions, Power 7, okay.
Go.
You cannot play Lisa or card name Yona while already in control of either character. The forwards other than Lisa you control gain plus 1,000 power. If you've received 5 points of damage or more, the forwards you control gain plus 2,000 instead. Now, S ability is S and dull. Choose a forward, deal at 8k. Now, it's very worth pointing out here that the plus 2,000 power also does apply to her after the 5 points of damage. There was a lot of confusion going around beforehand when it was originally spoiled.
Does anyone want to speak about this?
Well, I think it's pretty much the least they could give Fire this set.
Well, the thing is, it's like another one of the Anthem bodies for Fire right now. Because what's the other one we've got?
Lunith?
Yeah. So, I don't know, it seems like Fire's got a lot of dependencies on its forwards if it wants to get big on board, which is a bit of a crutch, I'd have to say. But at the same time, when you're looking at a 3 CP 9k that also buffs board, it's not bad.
I think that this card is pretty good. I was wondering how they were going to handle like spoilers like this in this game, and it seems pretty evident. So I really can't wait for the next set with Brave XPS where they're gonna bring out Hyo and then you can't control card name right. Can't wait for the spoiler.
Aerith and you can't control card name Dead.
I think that this card is really good. It really brings appeal to Fire outside of like Mono Fire and Warrior of Light. Like right now you can play like the Warrior of Light thing. Everything like you can play this in water and then like splash fire stuff when you're playing like Kusoya, right? Just play the fire stuff that you really want to play, which is probably going to be the new Hurricane Gold that I don't know if we're going to talk about, stuff like that. And this card is like super good in outside of fire stuff. Inside of fire stuff, like power stacking power buffs is neat. I don't know if it's going to be that good. Just depends on how good Monofire is in general, and if they have a way to deal with board wipes. But I think that this is. If there's one thing that I ever did wrong in Opus 1 in terms of underestimating stuff, it was the power of anthems and power in general. And I think that 2k buff to your whole board is way more significant than we're giving credit for right now. I think this card is really good.
I like it with the new March too, like the 4-drop 5k, get a 5 character off the top.
Yeah.
Like that being a 7k is pretty relevant.
Well, and then it's an 8k with a row, and then it's a 9k with Unit. Like things get out of control. Things get out of control really fast with this kind of with power stacking, and I think we haven't seen a deck that power stacks incredibly well. Like this thing is the Earth Fire Warrior of Light deck, and I think we could do that in Earth Wind with like multi backups, stacking power and stuff like that, where we could just go mono fire and then use Lunith, Lebrow, and this, and play like Warrior, like the new Warrior Light that gives 2k when it comes in. Like you can stack buffs really hard and just become super impressive really quickly.
It's actually really interesting because a card like Zell starts to function a lot like Ishtola does for Scion. Like plays out and can shoot for 7 or 8k. It's pretty long. Also worth mentioning is it's a really good Phoenix target. Like 2k.
Yeah.
We got 2 really good Phoenix targets.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon, so if you don't have Phoenix yet, go get some.
Yeah, I think Phoenix is just going to grow to be a much better card over time, like more and more toolboxy, because it already feels good getting like a Palamoth or something.
Yeah, my only gripe with Phoenix is that if you don't play it off of 5 backups, it's pretty bad, or it can be at least. So you either need to bring something back that has an ability to enter the battlefield effect, or you need to pay for it off of 5. And because of that, I think it's severely hampered. If you ever get something that can reduce the cost of playing Phoenix reliably, so that you can play it off of 4 backups, I think that'll be impressive as all hell. But until that day comes, it's just kind of like a niche utility card that lets you do neat things, and is pretty strong. I don't think it'll ever be really good until we can play it for 6. Or consistently get to 5, which is not something we can do right now.
Yeah, that was the thing I was kind of thinking of, is Fire looks like it's kind of wanting a way to control where its damage is going. Just because there's so much utility at being at 5 damage in Fire.
Yeah.
Ice as well now.
Yeah.
You can play Fire Ice now too, right? Like you play Hurdy, Mudblank, March, that ramps up pretty quickly.
Yeah, so March can only get you fire cards, so in a way you kind of only want to play him in mono fire. Not that he probably would be fine outside of a mono deck, but
well, it depends on the card quality in red, I'd say.
Exactly, yeah. If you're gonna play a deck that gets the 5 backups, you generally want higher card quality. The Marsh doesn't really fit in with that card quality.
Now let's discuss all the other spoilers that we may want to discuss, and we're going to start with Eureka. Discuss any spoiler you like.
Okay, I'm gonna take Dark Fina. Yeah, so I love Ice. I love expensive cards, and I think that this card fits right in. I think that we already know exactly what kind of deck it's going to go into, but I also think it'll fit into other off-color stuff. I think this is kind of the sort of deck that Yuri and Jamil really wanted back in like 05. You really needed a way to search out like Phoenix and Diablos, and being able to do that off of the Dark Fina is really good. Being able to cast it immediately after means you don't have to play a Jito Margito. I mean, obviously you can play that for a cycle if you wanted it, but like you're gonna play this off of 5 backups anyways, so I think the card's really good. You can search Phoenix right off it, play the Phoenix immediately, go back to your solo, which protects the Dark Fina. I think there's like clear applications for it in just Ice as well. You can grab Zodiac and play it immediately, and we're already playing Zodiac in this. You'll be able to grab whatever new Ice summon we get, if we get any. If we do end up getting like the Shiva that dulls everything, you're going to want to grab that a lot of time, and being able to search that is insanely powerful in Ice.
Do you think it sort of replaces cards like Sephiroth in like Ice's kit?
I think it does not. I don't think it replaces Sephiroth. I think if it replaces anything, it's gonna be like one copy of Orphan, one copy of Kuja. Like Kuja is a card you normally play off of 3 back. I mean, you obviously want to play it off of 5, but like normally play Kuja off of 3 and Orphan off of 4, and you want to play Sephiroth off of 1, 3, or 5. Sephiroth is most versatile. He also does something that's like drastically different than all of the other high cost cards. Dark Fina kind of does what Orphan does, but you really only want to play Dark Fina off of 5 most of the time. But by the time you've taken 5 damage, usually that's not a tall point. Because of that, Dark Fina is probably better at closing games than Orphan is a lot of the time. Obviously, it depends on what kind of stuff you're doing, right? If you play the Dark Fina and Zodiac and you're on 5, you're going to kill yourself, most likely. So in the early game, it just gives you a way to tutor the Zodiac if you're playing it off of 3. In the late game, you can cast whatever you need to cast, and presumably you're going to have a way to capitalize on whatever 7 cost summon you choose to cast. If we don't get like the Shiva summon from chapters that knows everything, there's going to be other options that you can go for. Like I think even casting off-color summons off of this isn't quite as bad as I would have thought before things.
So you would splash like other colors in like mono? Just for this?
I don't know if I would go that far, but like having the option to do something like that makes it seem more reasonable to play like Chaos alongside your Galdies and go for a plan like that. Yeah.
That's fair. I like the card.
I think it would be cool in Fire and Ice with Shadow.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, I was just thinking if you're running the like 7 cost kit, you could probably capitalize on that just fine.
Honestly, Phoenix and Ice is kind of insane as it is. Like, just being able to play Phoenix and Ice would make this card worth it as well. Even assuming like you don't want to play Zodiac, we don't get any new cool Ice summons that let you close out the game. Just having Phoenix and Ice with this, and then like playing a 1-up Chaos backup with like a Galdies and an Emperor, or a Galdies and a Shadow Lord would be insane in my opinion. I think that Ice is really well set up to get to 5 backups, probably more than anything else in the game besides Mono Win. And because of that, being able to capitalize on playing 7 costs at 5 backups would be great. So like both Phoenix and Dark Fina fit in really well there.
Yeah. The new summons aren't written like from hand, right? Like you'd be able to play one of the new summons from this if the Ice one comes. Like they just say, what's the wording on
we do not know
yeah, so it's fine.
currently.
Yeah, but if it's the same as the Bahamut,
it should
like,
work,
right?
but Square Enix.
But I don't think we're gonna play that. Yeah.
No, I mean like the ice version, whatever the ice version is.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's possible.
It'll be that Shiva that he wants, but it'll be restricted with those backups.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of Fire and Ice, I think we could talk about the new Lastwell.
Yeah.
Just because, well, just to run through the card, it's 4 CP, it's Brave Exodus, is a forward knight. When he enters the field or attacks, choose a forward. If it's received damage this turn, dull it and freeze it. Except he also has 1 red, choose a forward, deal it 1k. And the S ability is Zero Sky, S red, ice, dull, choose 2 forwards, deal 8k to the first, and dull and freeze the other. I don't know how to feel about this card, if I'm real. I kind of like the fact that he can sort of enable his own ability.
Yeah.
I think it is. There's a little bit of talk about this in Earth Wind. I think it's very clearly a Fire Ice card. I don't think we'll ever be playing it in Earth Wind unless we're playing like a Earth Leo deck that abuses somehow, along with like Gilgamesh and stuff like that. It's never going to see play in like Mono Ice Flash Fire because the 2 CP Lastwell is already like really, really strong. The card is really good, and I don't see us dropping it for this one.
Yeah, it feels kind of like a discount Genesis of sorts.
A little bit, yeah.
I just think in like the multicolored decks you're talking about, like I would play Gilgamesh over this every time, probably.
Right, exactly. It's never going to be better than Gil. I think at least. Yeah. Gil is insane. Like you can sweep a game really quickly with Gilgamesh, and Lastwell does not do that.
Yeah. I think we have to wait for Rain, the other guy, like the.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some cool synergy and it makes it worth playing, but I don't think I'd be playing.
Yeah. So this is like a Brave X based thematic thing. Spoiler alert here. Lastwell picks up like Rain's sword when Rain disappears at the end of an arc, and then he becomes like the Fire and Ice Knight. That's like his thing. But Rain doesn't do that. He's just like just a fire dude. So I don't really think there's going to be like cool, insane synergy unless something is built into Rain to enable the Lastwell to be good.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Because like Lightning has all the if damage stuff anyway. Like you don't care if stuff's like ping damage and fire. Like one
right.
Thing. So I don't know. I don't like it, but it could be good. I don't know.
I think there might be an application for it, and maybe that'll be someday. But like right now, there's no good way to activate the ability without paying an extra 1 for the fire. And because he can't activate his like own, or because you have to pay to activate his own ability, he doesn't really cost 4 when you think about it that way. It just feels worse than Genesis most of the time.
Feels worse than Kuja most of the time too. I think.
Yeah.
I can fight for this anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And he only has an 8k body, like.
Yeah, it definitely fights for the same slots as the other 5 CP utility cards, which sort of just...
Which we're already, like, super full of. I just can't see us cutting any ice card for this. Like, if we need something that can act with, like, fire mechanics for some reason I can't think of, then maybe this might be a good way to bridge the gap. But I can't see us dropping any like ice cards specifically for this instead. Especially when like dropping like Veins and like the 3rd Genesis and stuff like that.
Actually, hang on. What was that ice card again? Moomba would be kind of cute with it.
Moomba is cute with it. It's true.
10, do you have a spoiler you'd like to discuss additionally?
If you steal Ico, I'm gonna have.
Yeah. What?
If you steal Ico, I'm not gonna be.
How dare you? I'm saying Ico.
What?
5 CP when you play it, you search your deck for a summon. It has similar applications to Dark Phoenix, right? It's also, when it enters the break zone, you draw a card. What's really interesting about it is there's simple applications, like if you have Unir on field, you have Vamfruit on demand with a really good Vamfruit target, like all built into one card, and that's cool. But you also have value-orientated strategies like what Wind Water provides, and this gives some more inevitability to triple Valor plays, which is a massive blowout. It also has applications with cards like Zodiac and Valdez. When you're playing a lot of small bodies, you can pretty quickly swing for game with a card like this. It's scary.
I think if people are going to start running this, people might start running 5 CP Steiner a bit more. Just in my experience of playing that Steiner, sorry to detract from the actual card itself, but being able to search this one up, searching up Braun, and then even just like the light Zidane and stuff, it's actually kind of potent.
Yeah, I think this card is good, probably. I don't know how widespread removal will be. If this card gets removed from play, it's significantly worse, but...
I also really like this card with Opus 4 deleter. Opus 3, 5? Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Opus... whatever.
Opus 5, I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
The good one.
Yeah, being able to, like, search the card, right, like Pseudo 3, and then you throw this at, like, a Cloud of Darkness or a Camelot or something, and then you draw a card. Like, it's pretty... Like, Deleter hasn't had a good 5-drop target for it. Like, I tried it with Jekt, just good.
Right, yeah.
So having this is good. Also has Job Summoner, so eventually if they're, like, more Summoner forwards, Braska might be worth playing. I don't think it is yet, but eventually.
Yeah, if this costs 4, it's actually kind of nuts, to be honest.
Yeah, but I don't think Braska's worth running just for this to be 4, is the issue.
Yeah, I think if there's some kind of mono water where you can abuse this and then play Una backup and Len, or even light Una forward and Len, and abuse that with this Echo somehow, there could be some neat stuff going on. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I'm going to leave that up to Master. They'll figure it out, I'm sure.
I think being able to search for any summon is really good too.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a cost restriction like Terra or anything. So.
Yeah, this is definitely more compact than Dark Leap as well.
Yeah, I think where Dark Athena might fall short, it might sort of fall into the category that Jack does, and I don't see Ico in that same sort of category. Like, if you're not on 5 damage, you're going to chuck off the CP every time. That's how I feel about with Jack. So it needs a very specific strategy in mind, I think, whereas Ico, not so much.
Alright, Nado, do you have a spoiler?
Yeah, look, I don't know the name of it, but the Warrior of Darkness card, the
Diana?
in the description right here. Well, it's not in the text at the top. Okay? It's Japanese. I'm like everyone else in this podcast. I don't read Japanese.
Yeah.
Diana enters the field,
Don't know anyone that speaks Japanese in this podcast or reads it.
Legends forward, other than Diana, and you break that into your hand. The other legends, and you can make it +2, is whatever. The other legend forwards so far are what? The 4 generals, right? They're legends.
Yeah, there's the 4 generals, and then like Aegis, Sol, and those guys.
Right, I think if there's enough good forwards that are FFL, this card's really good. Obviously, we have to wait for the rest of the set, but I think a 3-drop to get something back, it's a 6k, it's pretty good. I like it.
Yusufa, do you have a spoiler?
I was going to talk about Tifa because I'm super predictable and FF7 is the best thing ever. So it's kind of just like the Gladio spoiler, but has less attack and has Brave and an S ability. But I think it's really good in the fact you've now got another 2 CP target, potentially 2 CP off of Zangan, which gives you a Brave haste 2 for 8, which is pretty strong. And the S ability's there as well, I guess.
Yeah, S ability with Brave is not bad, and if you're playing Zangan, you can play 6 Kifas across the 4 colors, and then both of them have S abilities that deal damage, which is
it's nice.
Pretty nice if you're going Earth Fire. Even without it, I think if you're just going like Earth something else, maybe you play Chocobo.
The main thing for me here,
Chocobo 7 or whatever.
The main thing for me here is going to be what's the wind stuff look like for 7.
Right.
Is it going to be better than having Dangan for this?
Yeah, I don't expect it to, but.
Because that's the starter, right? It's Earthwind.
Yeah, the starter is Earthwind, yeah. So there's going to be, assumedly 3 new 7S cards in there, I guess.
So like a good Sid or something?
Just something that like searches the top 5 cards would be nice for category 7.
There could be like an Aerith, there could be like a Sid Highwind or a Yuffie. Maybe there's a Yuffie that might look at top 4, top 5 or whatever.
Yeah, because we've already got the Aerith that it gets cheaper as a backup from Opus 3 that hasn't seen much play, but is pretty good against like the Sawyer and stuff.
Yeah, that card gets better and better as time goes on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this could be the set where we see it get quite a lot of play because of stuff like this, though. Because basically 7 seems to be around just making everything else, seems to be going the way of making everything else cheaper and then just spamming the fuck out the board.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Look, I'm going to cut you off because you still got
Alright.
I like the idea of a deck where you have a lot of those 2 forward pieces, right? Like you can play the generic Earth Searcher backup as well. So you can get like a Tifa Cloud, or you can get like, Noctis, like, that ends up being good, or like Vincent Yuffie, obviously. So I like that, like early aggression on like pretty beefy forwards too.
Yeah. The problem with the Earth Searcher backup in that is that you lose the Jessie that reduces the cost of your Cloud and your Barret, which makes them a lot worse, to be honest.
Well, you could use Kulka or Mog.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, the 4-drop one that just gets an Earth forward.
Oh, generic Earth. Okay, not 7.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever want to lose 2 cost Jessie. She's too important.
Right. I can get behind that. Depends on which clouds we're playing as well. Like, the less clouds, the less barracks, the less important that is.
Yeah, true.
Let's move on now to a Nidhogg segment provided by Yusufer as we ask him which turn do we play Nidhogg on.
So, ideally, you want to play Nidhogg on turn 1 or 2. The real trick is drawing Nidhogg on turn 1 or 2, and that's the bit you need to practice. End of segment.
We're going to move on to top of the bot as we look at a deck. This month, we were going to look at a little title deck that won Winter Cup, but instead, Zellon has provided the deck for us. So let's have a little look at this bad boy. This appears to be a Golbez deck. It's running 2 Golbez. Talk us through this, Zellon.
This was Opus 3, alright, and so the real focus was sort of not really Golbez, but sort of like, if I got it, I got it. It was really just the Gilgamesh Strongest Swords shenanigans that could go on.
So, like, first issue, 2 Golbez. Second issue, no deleter. How you gonna break Golbez? What is this deck? How do you win with this deck? No, you know what? I don't actually want to know.
Oh, is this not just a picture of somebody's trade binder?
No, this was like the legitimate deck I played.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so the way I sort of worked around was I was kind of very focused on just removal, getting through, and sort of getting there, which is sort of where my like love of Kate Sith grew as a card in Lightning. Yeah, I don't know.
I think with one backup, just being able to overpay for Yuffie whenever you draw is really, really nice. I think that really helps get the value by paying twice as much as you need to.
Oh, definitely.
It's pretty good.
It was.
Yeah.
I maintained that I don't think anyone was really good at the time that I was playing this at my locals. But
You fucking weren't looking at the list, mate.
Whoa, savage.
I think the trick that we're all missing here is that after you run out of Gilgameshes and you've killed all their forwards, you can play Cloud Darkness to break Gilgamesh. I mean,
That-
Golbez.
Yeah,
that was part of it.
That was a good discussion. It's good. It's a good deck. It's great.
No, it's not.
It was a very
Right.
different time. Like,
I haven't
how many?
counted it through. Does it have 50 cards?
It does have 50 cards.
Roughly 50 cards, roughly.
47 forwards. That's good.
I've only seen like 4 of these cards played for the last 3 sets.
Was Gilgamesh a thing in Japan ever?
Oh yeah, Opus 1.
That was where
That's when the deck like originated.
that was my inspiration, yeah.
Golbez is a big hit for
The 1 Cosmos, 2 Odin, or 2 Hecaton Chair, depending, or 2 of each, and then the 1 Cosmos, plus 45 and 48, or 45 and 47 forwards was a thing, pretty often actually, in Opus 1, because it was impossible to stop. Like, you have to open Leviathan to stop it, the turn 1 Golbez, or they just play Strongest Sword, and then there's no efficient way to deal with Strongest Sword outside of Odin, and even then you break even, so it's actually really, really dumb in Opus 1, especially because outside of Unit H and Mu, everything else sucked in water. It was real bad, so those were like the only reasons to play it, and then Minwu dropped off immediately after, and it's kind of a miracle that we started seeing more and more by Opus 3.
When I started playing around Opus 3, Opus 4, there was still a lot of Golbez decks running around.
because you're in Australia, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, in Opus 2, Golbez, like 3-color Golbez was way too popular.
I played a lot of the water Golbez in Opus 3, like with Fanfrit. It was, it won, but it wasn't very good.
That was a really interesting deck. And then once you like know the 50 cards, it gets like way worse.
Yeah.
But when people figured out how the deck worked, it got really bad really fast.
Well, for some reason or another, I was running Heroic Una at the time, and it was great.
Easy wins.
Just play it and win.
Yeah, pretty much. Play it, scoop. Let's go next.
And this next segment is the card of the month. Vuru has not currently given me the card of the month, so there's a good chance that there will be no card of the month this month. So I'm just gonna edit it in here if it's been given to me, or we're just gonna awkwardly move on. No past yo for you see future yo, well current yo technically I guess. It's not future yo. It's future to you, the past yo, but I'm the current yo. Doesn't matter. I shall be reading the card of the month, and if necessary, every month. Let's get into the card of the month. A card so much better than Genesis. Every single player of Final Fantasy TCG made a gentleman's agreement not to play it. Should it see widespread play, it would be banned as quickly as the other two that were banned, Gesper and Thumb, the other two. I assure you, my Final Fantasy knowledge is second to none, so this will be an exceptional reading. This month's card comes to you from Type O. Is that a 0? Did the Final Fantasy games stop doing numbers? Did they move into blood types? Final Fantasy Type O, Final Fantasy Type O negative, Final Fantasy AB positive? Never mind. It is Quator Bash job. It is a Brigadier General forward with 8,000 power, CP cost of 4, element of Ice. From Opus 3, number 27 in Opus 3, that's 3-027R, and its ability is EX Burst. When this card attacks, choose one forward of cost 3 or less opponent controls, full stop, freeze it, full stop. Anyway, that was your card of the month. Look forward to maybe Ruru being back next month, or maybe for some reason you want me to do this again. Or maybe you just don't want a card of the month, but you're fuck you, frankly. Anyway, back to really fucking tired and ill past you. What a cunt. We move on to our second ad read of the podcast. Winners never quit. Forget card tech, stick with cardboard crack. We have a testimonial here from a cardboard crack addict. I've been taking cardboard crack for 20 years. I'm in prison and lost half a lung. It's the best. Remember, if you collect cardboard crack, you are a pussy. Now we're moving on to rolling gymnastics. Questions absolutely sent in by listeners like you. Our first question comes to us today by Lucksack for Game. He says, I play Ifrit, Opus 7, number 5 common. From my hand. To activate it via EX Burst, I place it into my damage area. This puts me to 7 damage. My friend says that means I lose the game. I argue that since I wasn't actually dealt damage from the deck, it doesn't count and it's simply how you activate the EX Burst. And that it deals 8k to his forward. Should he stop being a little bitch and just put his forward in the break zone because it's dead? Who is correct? Eureka.
Yeah, so that's exactly how EX Burst works, and your opponent's being a little bitch. You should just call him out on it.
And next up, we have a question provided by Piano. He asks, Hi, I played Verena last week during a game, and it became a forward during the game. A few days ago, I played another game. I paid to play Verena, as it had previously become a forward in another game, and since it doesn't stop being a forward, it's still a forward, right? My opponent argues that it only counts for the game you play it in. I think he's an idiot. Who is correct? Zellon?
So, you should only ever need to turn a Verena into a forward once. Yeah, the guy's an idiot, honestly.
Next up, we have the play of the month. This month's play of the month is Romeo and Juliet. Next up, we're going to lay down a challenge. As you may know, the hot new thing is to lay down a challenge from one team to another. So we're gonna challenge Final Fantasy decks to a 3v3. 3 of them versus 3 guys that we can find to play for us. We'll be commentating over all the games and we'll be releasing it as extra podcast episodes because it's only fair because it was our idea. And now we've come to the end of podcast introductions. The pro host for this month, Yo Caesar. Our pro co-host is the pro Nidhogger, Yusufa. Another co-host, he's pro at being Nado. It's Nado. And finally, our last co-host for the month, he's pro at forgetting English. It's Eureka. And we have 2 guests this month. A little bit of context on the first guest. Last month, you might remember we had 10 letters on. This guy claims that wasn't the real 10, and he is. So, pro at faking being 10, it's fake 10 letters. And finally, our second guest, he's really, really young. Probably too young for this podcast, but he's an Australian rising star. It's pro at being 15-year-old, Zellon. Alright, and there's just enough time to ask the guests, how are you this month? And finally, it's time to sign off the podcast with our signature saying, it's iconic, not Ubisoft iconic, just iconic. A podcast for nobody, by nobodies. See you next month. Everyone say bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Tatty bib.
Alright.
That's not English.
I mean,
Quality content,
yeah,
guys.
that was good.
Another flawless episode.
Is this still the sign-off?
And the entire goal of the deck is just...
Winners never quit. Forget card tech, stick with cardboard crap.
I'm impressed with how little sleep you've had, to be honest.
This is not based on any ideological fuck.